Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to the Thursday morning live stream, and welcome Rachel, our special guest. How you doing, Rachel?
I'm doing well, thanks, Bob.
I want to thank you for coming on here. It means a lot to me. You're always so helpful. Rachel, our special
hold on one second. There we go. Sorry about that.
I thought that was me for a second. Even though you warned me, I still thought that was me. Just checking my settings.
My technological savvy leaves a bit to be desired.
So, tell me, I want to know what you got planned this year. What events are you going to, so I can know which ones I need to go to?
My current schedule on February 1st, I'll be down in the Fort Lauderdale and Miami area. On the 1st, I'm speaking at the Gold Coast Aquarium Society. And then on the 2nd, at Neighborhood Fish Farm, I'm doing a meet and greet, and I'm pretty excited about that one as well. Apparently, that farm is largely run by women, so I think that's a really cool angle. Then the weekend of April 19th, I'll be in Louisiana, just outside New Orleans for Aquafest. I may be going to Monterrey, Mexico. I'm not sure yet. Let me pull up my schedule. I've got Aquashella Dallas that I'll be at. And I keep the events page on my website up to date because I take my life very much sort of a couple weeks at a time. Otherwise, it gets really overwhelming to consider all the work that goes into being able to travel. But I've left like the second half of the year open because I'd really like to be able to do more travel to stores and do meet and greets and be able to actually interact with the audience easier than at those big events where it can sometimes be a bit overwhelming for everyone involved or intimidating to new people.
Now, do you know, this is kind of a ways out, are you going to the Chicago Aquashella?
I haven't talked to him yet, but I would imagine so.
Yeah, I haven't seen a date, but I'm sure it's later in the year.
I don't have the date for that either. I think I'm speaking at the Dallas one, though, which is kind of cool.
Oh, do you know what your topic is?
Probably nanofish.
Probably just nanofish. What's your favorite nanofish?
Gosh.
I hate these kind of questions myself, so.
I guess it depends on your definition of nano. Like my favorite small fish is the white cloud, but I don't know that they're really particularly a nano fish. As far as the small guys, probably the chili rasbora. They seem to have no clue that they're low man on the totem pole as far as food chain goes. They're colorful, they're outgoing, and they're really suitable for a wide range of tanks.
I'm glad you said rasbora because I've been nerding out on rasboras big time. I like that I can pretty much Google any rasbora and a video of yours comes up.
Well, have a little bit of a focus and have for a long time.
No, I don't know. I don't know where I heard this, but maybe it's just a rumor. Are you writing another book? Is that?
I am. It's pulled up on my computer now. I have one that I'm working on that's sort of about my philosophy of keeping small fish and sort of the nuts and bolts as to how to stock and start an aquarium for small fish or invertebrates. And then I have another one that I'm working on that's more on the summer tubbing and that sort of stuff. That'll be more of a how-to guide.
Well, that's kind of neat. Now, okay, so I always get a lot of crap on YouTube when I do like a nano fish video, but like my 125 gallon tank. And so I always get a lot of hate saying that's not nano. Do you think that matters, the size of the tank? It's really just a fish in my mind.
I have an entire talk that is called Redefining Nano. I believe that nano can refer to the size of the inhabitants or the size of the aquarium. And I think by limiting nano and the philosophy of keeping nano to just small tanks, you're really doing a great disservice to the fish because so many of them do so incredibly well in more average sized aquariums. It means that you can fit a whole lot more of each species. It means you can have a better diversity of species. It means you can layer the species, and it's still a community of nano fish. It's just not necessarily in a nano aquarium.
Exactly. That's kind of my thought too. Good. So what else is new? What kind of projects you got going on there?
I just redid all the lighting in my fish room, which was a heap and helping of struggle.
I'm way behind, so you're giving me all kinds of spoilers. I'm still on your new stands. That's how far behind I am.
You got some catching up to do. I just set up or I'm in the process of setting up a divided aquarium, which I haven't shown yet, for breeding some of the wild bettas I have. And I am clearing tanks so that I can do an import, because I need to finish stocking the hill stream, and I need to restock a few aquariums just because, you know, a lot of my fish are a decade old. So some of them are starting to age out slowly. So I need to start considering what I want to do with those tanks in the future.
So this might be, I don't know if this might be too personal, but how's like your knee coming along and that sort of thing?
Well, I think what I've learned is that I will forever be the person who has to take the elevator, not the stairs at this point. And they kind of warned me about that before the surgery, but I think I was deeply in denial about what I would be able to do. Obviously, I can walk, and I'm doing much better than I was before the surgery, but I don't think I'll ever, like, I can't kneel, I can't carry heavy things. Stairs are an obstacle to do over and over again. So the reality is I just have to enjoy what I'm doing and modify my plan a bit so that it works for me.
Yeah, so I kind of follow that pretty close, kind of your updates, because my mom had the same surgery. And I still remember like her being like, oh, I'm going to be able to hike again and do all this stuff again. But no, she can't. It's kind of the same story.
I couldn't hike before I had my knee replaced because I would just fall down. Like I would fall like a ton of bricks. I was constantly covered with bruises from falling down the stairs or just like walking along. I remember being out in Oregon and just walking down the street with a group of people, fish people, and just hitting the ground. Like that doesn't happen anymore. So my quality of life in that regard is vastly improved. I think I just thought it was going to be like I was a brand new person and I wouldn't have pain and I would have no limits. And the reality is you just have a different set of limits.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's frustrated me is they kind of sold her, or I don't know, that's kind of what her expectation was too. And it just wasn't the case. So I guess I'm sad that it's that way, but I'm glad that it's just not, you know, a one-off thing for her. Like she didn't have like a bad surgery or something, you know?
No, it just, you know, I think there's a good reason why they don't generally give 40-year-old ladies knee replacements, and that's because it does set limits for the rest of your life. But for me, it was unavoidable. So,
well, it's good not to fall down, right?
That is true. That is true.
So, are you able to like stand all day at these fish conventions, or?
Well, I do it. But then usually I can't walk for a few days when I get home and I have a lot of swelling and stuff, but I wear orthopedic shoes and that helps a lot. It's also very sexy. So,
sounds like it.
But, you know, it's not the best for me, but you can, you know, most of those events have at least a place somewhere where you can sit down a bit. I try and just take breaks and go sit down somewhere where it's quiet so I can recoup and then come back out.
I have another off-topic question for you.
Okay.
When are we going to see your daughter in the Olympics?
You know, that's not her goal.
Really?
No, Olympic level is not her goal. She's currently looking at colleges because she's a junior. And her goal is to really dive Division I and set herself up for opportunity for her education. So, because she wants to go into science. So her goal is to continue to dive, be a part of a team, something she feels really strongly about, but really utilize it to open up some doors for the education that she wants. Now, you know, so that's always
pretty smart. Normally people are the other way.
Yeah.
Well, she is my daughter, so of course she's smart.
Well, honestly, when I was an athlete as a kid, I was totally motivated for that, like, the competition track. That's all I could think about. And then when that had to end, I was sort of lost with what to do with my education. So I'm really proud that she is focusing on her future, like the longevity of her future, not just the short-sightedness.
Okay, so I got to ask, just because somebody said that I'm way quieter, so I'm going to ask people to chime in and let me know. Am I quieter, louder? How's the audio? Sounds fine on my end, or it looks fine on my end, but obviously I can't hear.
Oh, yeah. And someone just mentioned the Big Fish Deal. I will also be at the Big Fish Deal. Now, this year it's a one-day event, and I have to look up the date. I believe it's in March 14th. I forgot about that one. Thank you, Candy, for pointing that out. That
And
one's
that's
fun.
that's in Maryland, Maryland.
Maryland, yeah. I'm not actually sure where I haven't looked where the event is. As I said, I take my life like sort of one thing at a time. Um, it's usually in the general Gaithersburg area, though, and it's a really good time. Now, in previous years, it's been a weekend long event, but one of the things that I really, really enjoy about these smaller events is that you spend the whole time you're there really interacting with all the other people. So you really get to get your geek on. There's not as many like bells and whistles and like craziness, but you get a lot out of it. And I guess they're having a bunch of vendors, they're doing a swap meet, they're doing demos. There's going to be a little YouTube booth where several of us will be to just like hang out, do some demos, and really just spend time hanging out all day. So it should be a really good time. And I also believe on Friday night, the night before, if you were to be a person who has to commute in, I think Jen is doing an aquascaping workshop the night before.
What about the American Libraries Association down in Florida?
I've actually never been to that one. That's one of the few events. I haven't been to that event. And I haven't been to the CARES event that's in Texas. Those are two of the few events that I haven't made it to yet. And at some point I would, but I don't work with a ton of live bearers. So for me, that's why I've never gone to that. I try and pick and choose what applies most to what I'm interested in. But what I do know about that event is if you want to learn, like they have the best speakers, there's always a good auction. I'm sure there's plenty of vendors as well as people who are going to the event having pre-sale lists beforehand. So if you're interested in actively seeking some really quality live bearers or just learning a lot, those sorts of the events are the absolute best that you can go to.
All right, so I'm gonna sound stupid here, but I've been like in and out of the CARES program as far as like doing the CARES thing with the local club. I used to do that. I've never heard of a CARES event like ever.
Yeah, I think I'd have to Google it, but I believe it's in Texas.
I remember going to their like their Facebook page, and they're like, "Yeah, there's no one maintaining the Facebook page anymore." So
Well, they fixed that.
that's kind of when
Um,
I stopped.
I'm not sure exactly when it is, but I'm pretty sure it's in Texas because I think Greg Steve's club, something with I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up, and I didn't find it with just quick search. But there is that.
Okay.
There's another one that I'd like to go to too. That's not CARES related, but the NANFA event for the North American Native Fish Association.
Mm.
That's one I'd really love to hit sometime because that's an area that I'm really interested in pursuing further.
Yeah, I just actually just learned about that one recently myself.
So for basically almost every kind of fish, there is a specialized event that happens either annually or biannually, and it's super awesome. And then there's a few events that are more like generic, all fish keeping events, which incorporate both freshwater and saltwater and sort of the entire range. An example of one of those would be the Northeast Council's in Connecticut, the event they put on there. Another one in Canada is KOAC, where it's a confederation of clubs that come together to throw events, and then they have specialized shows, specialized speakers, but it encompasses more of the hobby. Whereas things like Aquatic Experience or things like that are more trade shows. So they're more geared towards showing the companies showing off their new product lines or having demos, as well as some of the like aquascaping contests and things like that. So for me, I like going to things like the Keystone Clash because it's much more personal and it's education based, which is generally what I'm really into. Last year, I emceed the Keystone Clash, and it was a really good time. Just hung out all weekend. There's always hospitality suites after the speakers and stuff, so you get to, eat food and drink beverages and just hang out and talk fish for as late as you want, basically. So for me, that's where I started within this hobby, is going to the regional events or the hobbyist events, and it's evolved into the trade shows.
Yeah, for me, as you know, I recently quit my job, and I would love to start going to these shows. So I've been like just researching all these different shows, and they all seem to be on the East Coast, which kind of sucks. But
No, there's one in Chicago. They Chicago also does some massive swap meets, which you may find really fun. Then there are a lot of them on the East Coast, mainly because we have the densest population of hobbyists. Our states aren't that far apart, and there's a lot of clubs in every state, and they're all active. So it makes it easier to have an event. It's really expensive for clubs to negotiate a hotel and afford an event. So in order for an event to be successful, you have to have the people come out. And if you can't guarantee that you'll get enough hotel bookings, for instance, I know out on the West Coast, this is a problem because hotels are often pretty expensive and you guys are way more spread out. It's harder to get the numbers that you need for the event to not operate at a loss.
Yeah, it's so expensive to fly to Chicago for me for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I would love to go there more often though. But I'm definitely gonna go to the Chicago Aquashella. I don't think I'm gonna go to the Dallas one because I think I'm gonna do the ALA instead, which is like 2 weeks right after. So I can't.
You might like the Ohio Cichlid Extravaganza too. That's a really unique event in that it's held in the Holiday Inn, so it's super affordable. The event itself is super affordable. They have a big fish show. They do a swap meet within it. They have a ton of speakers. It's mainly cichlids and catfish. But what's most interesting and most fun, I think, for a lot of people is that the entire hotel, everyone basically who stays in the main hotel, sets up their rooms for you to be able to shop through. So they do a spree where you can just shop from room to room to room to room to room all throughout the hotel. Now, years ago, it started out just being the first floor, but as it's grown, it's pretty much encompasses the whole hotel. And it's really anything you could think of ever purchasing related to fish or plants or invertebrates. And it's a really fun time. Like instead of doing a banquet, they do a pizza party. It's a really fun, inviting, welcoming, affordable event with, world-class speakers and excellent shopping.
Yep, that's definitely one on my list, especially now that Jimmy's in Ohio, so might have a place to stay. I don't know how far away he is, but, figure that out.
That event is in Strongsville. And I have no idea where Jimmy lives. So
I don't even know. Ohio's pretty big, but
yeah.
Yeah, that's what someone says. You could crash at Jimmy's if you go to Ohio.
Well, some parts of Ohio are a 6-hour drive for me. Some of them are a 9-hour drive for me. So.
We just had 4 major annual Chicago swaps this past Sunday. Yeah, I feel like there's just always something going on in like Chicago, that area. Same with Ohio. Now that we're talking about it.
FOTUS, Alec Kumanoff. It's the FOTUS Federation of Texas Aquarium Society. I thought it was CARES, but it's FOTUS. But they are super, super focused on CARES species because I think that's Greg Steve's club.
All right, I'm going to take a second and copy and save this comment. 1 second. Okay. All right, so what about... I know you scaled back like shipping a lot because of your knee. Are you gonna get back into that or do more of that, or?
I have been shipping.
I know you've been shipping, but I just didn't know like how much you've scaled back or if you're back to like 100% there as well.
I'll never be able to do what I was doing before. I was doing 100 boxes a week. I was shipping, 4 days a week, 6 hours a day. I have absolutely no desire to live that life again. One thing I can say that this knee replacement has taught me is that I really did not miss shipping that many fish or importing that many fish or maintaining that many fish. I took out 50 aquariums from my fish room. So
wow.
In order to really maintain a good level of quality quarantine stock to be able to fulfill orders like that, I would have to not have any display aquariums again and set up a lot more tanks. And I don't want to take care of any more tanks. I mean, I still have a lot of tanks. I still have 45 or 50. I mean, that's still a lot of tanks. I'll leave it to you guys to
no, me. Honestly, I do like 20 a week, and I'm like, that's max for me. I'm like, I got other things I want to do, like. So I only ship Monday and Tuesday because the rest of the week I want to be able to do stuff. Especially now because I go, I volunteer now and just filling my time with all this other stuff. So
yeah, I would usually do between 30 and 40 boxes on Monday, about 30 on Tuesday, and then it was variable. I prefer to not ship Thursdays. Wednesdays would be another 20 or so. I would prefer to not ship Thursdays, but based on people's schedule, if they were willing to assume the risk that if for some reason there should be a delay out of my control, they would have to do a lot of legwork to be able to get their package from FedEx since they don't do Saturday delivery. So I would make exceptions and usually have 5 to 10 on Thursday. I mean, it was a lot of work, plus maintaining all those fish. And then on the weekends, I was having to drive to pick up more fish to start the quarantine process. I mean, it was just, what they say is like when your hobby becomes your job, it's a job. And I'm really enjoying having my hobby back.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really trying to keep it small on my end as well. Like I bring in small numbers of fish, and I guess about 20 is about my max because I get up at like 4 to 5 on Monday morning, and I'm pretty much going nonstop till after my live stream. Like the live stream is my first break of the day, except for now. I'm not shipping now because of the weather, and I'm just like, man,
I'm shipping.
It's so nice. Well,
I have to watch the forecast. There's like some orders that I got before Christmas that I was just able to ship out this week. But I ship except for from middle of December through first week of January.
Yeah, I was supposed to start shipping actually this week, but we had we were supposed to have a big snowstorm, so I told people I wasn't shipping. But then we got like an inch of snow, so they over exaggerate a lot.
Yeah, we're supposed to get anywhere from an inch to a foot tomorrow. So
yeah,
what that turns up being.
I don't know how they just can't. I mean, is it that hard to figure out the weather? I don't know. Like my whole life, it's like never improved. Yeah, we're getting 1 inch, a foot. It might be 70. It might be 30. I don't know. Whatever.
I need to move south.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason I want to go to ALA instead of Aquashella Dallas is because I want to go to Florida. Gives me an excuse to go there.
Yeah. Well, my daughter is looking at colleges in the Carolinas, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, that could be interesting. Like North Carolina?
Yeah. That's where she's most interested in right now, but we'll have to see, what happens with that.
Road trip, huh?
Yeah, we went to see NC State a couple months ago for an unofficial visit. We really liked the area. That's in Raleigh.
So I'm just rolling through the chat real quick here. 100 a week, holy cow. Oh, okay. If Rachel O'Leary goes south, I doubt she could hold back on a multiple tank syndrome.
Yeah, but see, they're like, man, it'd be so much easier to put in a fish building because with a really good air exchanger, that would manage a lot of the heat, and I wouldn't have to worry about the heating it in the winter because here the biggest obstacle for putting a building in my yard is it is going to be so cost prohibitive because the amount of insulation, heating, and cooling that it will require for all seasons. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty awesome to move south, especially somewhere with a real moderate climate like the Carolinas, where just a little bit of heating in the winter and some cooling in the summer.
Of course, you have to rebuild every year after hurricane season.
That's only if you're on the coasts.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised. So this was our first cold week, and I just have like the smallest fish rooms in my garage. And the temperature dropped down to the low 70s, like it couldn't keep up, like even in my house. It was crazy, because normally it sits right around 78, 80 degrees in there. But it was down to like 71, 72, and I was like, oh, man.
That's why I have my fish room in a basement,
Yeah, I wish I had a basement. For some reason, basements aren't a thing out here in Washington. Like, they're pretty rare.
No?
I don't know.
I know they're typical down south. I didn't know that was the case in Washington as well.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's not like we get a lot of flooding. There's not a lot of flooding going on. I mean, every once in a while, but
maybe
I don't
know.
Maybe it's an earthquake thing. I don't know.
Yeah, or soil integrity, right? I don't know. I'm not a builder. I'm just.
There are some pretty wicked tornadoes here. Lived in North Carolina, South Carolina for 20 years. Too much rock. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Oh well, I would love like. Anytime I'm looking at a house, I get the itch to move or buy or whatever. I'm always looking for a basement. It's just so hard. to find that. But if I like search for houses in like Ohio or over there, like everyone has a basement, and it's 10 times cheaper.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty affordable to live where I live, and I've never been in a house here that doesn't have a basement. I can't imagine.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't. There's like no attics, no basements, nothing
Well, we
here.
don't have an attic, but that's because we have a lofted second floor, so it overlooks. We have 16-foot ceilings, and then the kids' rooms overlook the living room and stuff. So no attic. So basically, that means when I took over the basement for my fish room, I took all of the storage potential for the entire household.
Well, it's worth it now, right?
Yeah,
Turned out all right.
yeah. Didn't know it was going to work that way, though.
What do you think about YouTube and how it's evolved for someone who's been in the hobby as long as you have? Um, do you think it does more good than harm, or do you think now that there's like, and I'll probably get some flack for saying this, but now there's like 2,000 people uploading videos, and they might not be like the most informative or like the best fish keepers. Because I see a lot of people just uploading videos and just have mess of crap in like a 10-gallon tank, and I'm just like, man, if somebody sees that, they're gonna think it's okay.
Well, I think it's a slippery slope for me to answer this question. I think that there is a great tendency for folks who are seeking knowledge to try and find information in the easiest route possible. And it'd be easy to blame creators who are just sharing their journey, their adventures, and their passion for the mistakes that other people make because they're not willing to do more work on research. Now, the goal for my channel has always been to sort of assist with that research, or at least get the ball rolling and thinking about the choices you will make. There's been a lot of great things about YouTube, even the much less formal channels, and that it's really helped give our hobby a lot of visibility. But of course, I just think at the end of the day, it boils down to the consumer's fault if they're not doing their research. You can't
Which
really
is absolutely true, yeah.
blame creators or content or the platform for one's own lack of drive to get the information.
So you're arguably one of the most knowledgeable YouTubers, if not the most. You're definitely, right up there with anyone. How does it feel coming on a live stream with a big dummy like me? No, it's crazy because I don't, man, when I watch like the few times you live stream, like people ask you questions and you just give them an answer, but people ask me questions, I'm like, I don't know, Google it. It's like
Well, you got to understand though, I've been doing this, I've been lecturing for I think 13 years now on what I'm interested in. I like this is what I do, and the main reason I started YouTube is because I was getting so many repeat questions about species via email. I get about 300 or 400 emails a day, and I would get the same questions so frequently. And of course, Joey convinced me to give YouTube a try. So I started doing those species spotlights. So instead of having to answer the same questions over and over, I could just have a video link. And it was really successful in that regard. Even though those videos do terribly for my channel, I still think they're really important. I look forward to doing more of those because they're a database. It's a database of experiential information. So, for me, like, I would have a much more difficult time doing a live stream where I have to talk about myself. The questions where people ask me about me are way harder than any questions ever about fish for me because fish are fun.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting to see how it's evolved, because like when I started YouTube, like anyone couldn't just really be a YouTuber, but now with like cell phone cameras, anyone can do it. So it's just way easier for people to do it, and I don't think it's a bad thing overall. Like you said, it's up to the person to do their own research.
I wish creators would be more transparent about their level of experience, though.
And
Um,
that's what I try to be. That's why I'm always like, I don't know. You know? So
yeah.
I feel like I'm always saying it for an hour long. I don't know.
Well,
But
and I don't know everything either. I'm perfectly content. One of my favorite things to say is that fish don't read the books and they certainly don't watch my videos, and that there's no real one way to do anything in this hobby. And it's really important to, do things ethically and responsibly, but not be able to try things and see if it works, because, there's so many variables within an aquarium, from source water to decor to tank size to source of fish to everything, that there's really not a formulaic way to just do it and have it work. There's a lot of just paying attention and reacting within aquarium keeping.
yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I really like about this hobby is that there's multiple ways to do things, like many different ways to do things. Whereas like other hobbies, you have to do it this way because there is no other way, and then that gets boring really fast. But so far, like I mean, I've been going pretty strong in this hobby for a while now, and it's still like I love the species spotlight videos. I know they get terrible views on my channel as well, but I feel like that's when I learn the most is when I'm researching those fish, and then even though I feel like all I'm doing is repeating what's on Seriously Fish, um, my
Well,
favorite
that is
part,
a really thorough database. I mean, now I sometimes disagree with some of their stuff as far as sizing and whatever, but that's a great database.
yeah, the sizing is always kind of sometimes it's way out there, but yeah, that's the only thing. And then I like going all the way to the bottom, like on the notes and like reading all the like the yeah, okay, yeah, there's the temperature, there's the fish, but like all the way in the bottom when they have like the
The
history of the
comments
fish
from the
and
keepers too.
yeah, it's a really cool website. Same with what is it, Planet Catfish?
Yes, Planet
Yeah,
Catfish is one that I have supported for many, 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 many years. It's a really incredible website, and they do a lot of really great work with conservation and studying fish as well. So that's one that I actually donate actual money to. I know the owner and the founders. They're friends of mine. So just incredible website.
can you say who they are? Or I'm just curious, because
Julian Dignall is the owner.
who?
He goes by Julian Dignall.
Oh, okay.
He goes by Jules. And one of the I guess, creators, I'm not sure about the logistics here, is Shane Linder, or Shane's World on Planet Catfish. And he's from Maryland, so he's like a personal friend of mine, and I've hung out with both of them quite a bit. And really great people that are absolutely phenomenal speakers. If you ever have the opportunity to see either one of those guys lecture, they're like super charismatic, really engaging. They have wonderful stories. And like, what's interesting about that whole story with Planet Catfish is that started, I think, when they were in college and they were trying to share information through like an intranet. And that's what developed before the internet, before there were like websites and stuff. They developed this whole thing to be able to share research and academic papers about catfish and other fish, and it just sort of grew from that.
The thing I love about Planet Catfish is that you can actually search for one, and then it has a little option to search for like species or
Look under the family of species, and then you
yeah,
can look at the entire visual database and then click on each one to get more info. Yeah, it's phenomenal. And it also lists, if you register and stuff, you can register yourself as a keeper and do breeding reports and things like that. It's really cool.
yeah. I can get lost on that website for a long time,
Oh,
especially when I'm nerding out on plecos. I just like, oh, it's been like an hour.
JH Aquatics, this was way before BBS. This was way before that. Yeah, but they're both really great guys.
I I saw Barbie Fiorentino.
Yep, Barbie.
Is that how she's one
Absolutely.
of my favorite speakers, and I know at least when I saw her like years and years ago, she was pretty active on Planet Catfish.
Yep.
And
There's a fish store too in Washington.
yeah, she's about
Yeah.
5 6 hours away. I need to make it over there, but I just don't trust my Jeep to make that kind of drive. um, Forgot what I was gonna say, but I got it's funny because I'm friends with her on Facebook, but I don't think I've ever talked to her about fish. I just message her about her mastiffs all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, she's wonderful with dogs too.
Yeah, she's got amazing dogs.
And I think the planet, or not planet catfish convention, which is held down in Virginia every other year, is one that she always goes to. So that would be one that you would probably get a lot out of, Bob. It's a smaller event. It's not as cheap, but the caliber of the speakers is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah,
I
I
believe
wish
this fall.
the Seattle Aquarium Society tends to have a lot of repeat speakers, but they've only had her once. I wish they would bring her back, especially since she's so close. The last time she came here, I bought a bunch of her super reds, and I still have, unfortunately, one left.
Oh, I have a ton of super reds, but you should get them from her because she's on the same state. That's easy shipping.
Oh yeah, yep. I was breeding them for a while, and then I just moved on to other projects.
Yeah.
Fish from Fever with the $1 super chat. Thank you, buddy. Um, oh man, this is one of those times where I'm like, oh, I want to ask you something. I should write it down, and I'm like, no, I'll remember it.
Does anyone in the comments section have, or in the chat, have any questions?
If you see any, feel free to. Dragonlair says, I've been keeping and raising fish for 53 years. I became a master breeder in the 70s. I hear people today, everything I did was wrong. I do learn something new all the time. Yeah. 53 years and still learning something new.
I would like to also mention that I think it's really cool that I see more and more of these advanced fish keepers or people that have been in the hobby like that a length of time. That really have seniority in this hobby, really becoming active in the comments section. And I don't think it's that people think you did it wrong. I think it's that, a lot of things have changed as far as products and availability since then. Some of my most useful articles that I still reread constantly, and I have huge folders of these old breeding articles from the 70s and stuff, are those of Rosario Lacorte. And I will mention that there's a really cool group on Facebook that's about the aquarium hobbies history. And people post like these awesome old magazine articles all the time. You guys have to remember, before the internet, like, you had to buy books and you had to buy magazines, or you had no idea what was going on. And it was people like this putting out that information that unlocked the keys for breeding fish. And so you can really learn a lot if you listen.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for these people that are kind of making their way to YouTube now. Mainly, well, I mean, obviously that's where I spend a majority of my time, so it's nice to see them here. And it seems like the attitude is kind of shifting to be more positive as well. So I'm really thankful for that as well.
Yeah, I'm for YouTube at least. I'm older than most of the people that do YouTube or go to these events. Now, when I started, I was the youngest. Well, not for YouTube, but going to events. But it's it can be a slippery slope. The meeting of the generations, and I just hope that we can all try and be more inclusive and welcoming, no matter our experience level or age.
Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of my issue. Excuse me. The very first aquatic experience I went to, I was like, I was pretty small back then, but it was still like, oh, they were like, oh, you're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, get out of here, dude. But now it's like the same people that were doing that are like, hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, and I still get a lot of people. I'm looking up that group for you, Candy. I still get a lot of people that make fun of me, especially because like, I wrote a lot and I lectured a lot. So there's some of the older or more organized side of the hobby that still don't understand the value of YouTube. But I think that, one of the questions I get asked the most when I travel is, how do you get young people to come to the meetings? And how you get young people to come to the meetings is by utilizing the platform that they watch. The name of the historical Facebook group is the Aquarium Hobby Historical Society of America, AHHS. It is a phenomenal group if you're interested in the history of the hobby. Or, I mean, they're constantly putting up publications from magazines of yore that are just so full of good information.
So we have a question that says, what would it take to get your strain of longfin white clouds to Canada?
I don't ship to Canada, and
Yeah.
white clouds are banned in most of Canada, most provinces.
Oh, wow. Well, there you
So
go. Joseph says, Rachel, have you ever spawned larger tetras like imperial tetras? Best tips for spawning large tetra.
I don't keep large tetras.
Yeah.
The largest I've spawned is diamond tetras, and they're not very big.
Yeah. Come on, Joseph. You know who you're talking to.
Guys know I keep the teeny tiny stuff or the really, really big stuff and virtually nothing in between, except for I used to breed discus too.
Ginger Grays with the $10 super chat. Excellent live stream. Thanks to Rachel for dropping all the knowledge.
Thanks, Ginger.
Yep, a big supporter of this. I think it's true what you said about when they ask, how do you get young people in here? It's definitely social media. It's got to be social media. And going away from that, different topic, because do you remember like your first couple times speaking at like aquarium societies?
Clearly.
And
my very first one was Potomac Valley Aquarium Society in Herndon, Virginia.
Because I've had some reach out to me, and like I always tell them, I'm like, I don't know anything. What would I talk about? You're obviously not that way, but like when they reach out to me, like I don't know what to tell them. Like honestly, I don't even know what I would sit there and talk about for an hour, because what am I supposed to talk about? I don't know anything.
Well, but that's not true, because I mean, you're putting out information, you're gaining knowledge, you've built a fish room, you utilize, social media platforms. You have a lot to offer, because a lot of these people at these clubs, have kept the fish they've kept. They haven't kept the fish you've kept. And you've worked with a lot of rainbows. You could do a beginner rainbow talk. You could do building a community talk. You could do a low-tech planted talk. You could do a building a fish room in your garage talk. You could do all sorts of talks. And it doesn't mean that you have to consider yourself the world expert. Like, I don't consider myself an expert. I'm just an enthusiast. But it's about taking your experience and the knowledge that you've gained and making it accessible to folks who are interested in what you have to say. And if they're asking you, it's because they're interested in what you have to say because of what you already put out there.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of what I was going to ask you. Like, I don't know, I'm just looking for like advice on starting to do that myself. And I'm not nervous. I don't really care about talking in front of people. I don't have that issue. I just don't know what to talk about, but now I do, I guess.
I mean, you could do any number of talks. The ones about building fish rooms or garages are really popular, and you could also incorporate into that sort of the dichotomy from when you were just a keeper to now having to have more strict import or quarantine procedures than maybe you ever had, and sort of the ups and downs of, or the contrast between the two mentalities of fish keeping.
Yeah. So I when I see, like, the problem for me is when I go to the talks and I'm like, dang, these people are brilliant and they're super smart. And me, I don't know that I feel that way about, like, even rainbow fish. Like, I feel like I know a lot about rainbow fish, but like then I see like Gary Lang talk, and I'm just like, there's no way I could do that.
It's different, because Gary Lang is going out there, he's finding the fish, he's collecting the eggs, he's bringing them home, he's learning how to rear them, he's introducing them to farms where they can be produced to become available in the hobby. Gary Lang's the only Gary Lang. You could do an intro to keeping rainbows and talk about some of the species that can go well together without risk of hybridization, some things that maybe you wouldn't normally consider stocking with rainbows that do really well. You could do all kinds of things that would be like an intro to rainbow, or rainbow for the average aquarist, or something like that would be really useful to people who maybe have only seen Gary Lang's talks and might be a little bit intimidated because of the pressure they feel about preserving rainbows.
Well, that's actually pretty helpful. I don't know. That gives me some confidence. That's
building a rainbow community, because I know you do a lot with communities, or spawning rainbows within a community, or there's so many topics that you could do. I would encourage you to just, like, when I'm building a talk, I sit down and I flesh out like a basic outline for the concept of the talk that I want to build. And it's just like shooting a YouTube video, or how I do YouTube videos is I come up with like an idea and then you fill in the blanks with the images or videos that you have.
Yeah, and I've done talks, but just not on fish, like boring stuff, like where people don't, just computer stuff, network topology, all this stuff. Like I've done these presentations, and so I don't, it's not like I have a problem talking in front of people. I just, when it comes to like fish clubs, I just don't know what to talk about. So I'm definitely gonna go back and rewatch this. I'm glad that it's recording. I don't have to write any of this down right now.
Well, you can always reach out to me. One of the things that I want the most is, for people to take the time to share their actual experience. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on YouTube to put out content. And because of that, some of the actual quality of the content tends to suffer over time because, it becomes about chasing numbers. And I think it's really important for us to, continue to put out things that we think are meaningful. I mean, they don't have to be heavy, deep, long, or complicated, but meaningful. And I think it's important for us to, even though we're utilizing this platform of YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever, that we continue to also support those clubs, because they're really important way for people to meet in person. And it's a great way to be able to, get in on group buys and see speakers and things like that without it being like a weekend long event.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things about quitting my job is because Seattle has their meetings on Tuesday nights, and they go to like midnight. So now I've already gone to a couple meetings again now. So it's almost like I've been away from it for so long, and now I'm getting back into it that it's like fresh and exciting again. Because I used to go to like every single meeting, but I used to work graveyard, so it wasn't a big deal. But then,
Right.
That was years ago.
Yeah, I haven't been to a regular meeting in a long time, but that's mainly because I have teenagers now who have sports things on the weekends, and gotta prioritize as a mom.
So Guppy Guru with the $10 super chat says, "I'm only 25 and I'm so open to listening to everyone, always open to new ideas. I've met some great people and seen tons of young kids get started with fish because of YouTube." And I think that would be one of my goals. Like, this year I've set up 4 tanks in classrooms. I'm so afraid to film it though. Like I don't even film it just because of the new YouTube crap.
Oh yeah, with it being for kids. I donate to schools almost every month, or to nursing homes, or to veterans homes,
nursing homes would
or really anyone who sends. I should not be putting this out there because I'm going to get flooded. But people who reach out and say, "Hey, I'm doing this project. It's for this. What do you have?" I generally end up donating, just because I think it's really important to integrate aquariums into the community in a meaningful way. And those of us with experience should be willing to help facilitate that.
Yep. I would do just about anything as long as it doesn't bankrupt me.
Right. Well, I have to be reasonable. Obviously, yeah. I prefer to donate to places that are not super far away. And I have to have things that I think will work well for them long term. Recently, I gave away probably about 100 pounds of dragon stone to someone who was building an aquarium for, I think it was a nursing home or a veterans home. I can't remember now.
I haven't found a good way, besides being like a stalker at a fish store. But I've always wanted to be, not to be, but like set up tanks for like kids. Not like, you put them in a classroom, that's cool. But what if like a specific kid, would love a fish tank that just, huh?
You want to mentor.
Not even, well, yeah. But like I want to help them get an aquarium if maybe, they're low income or something like that. But that's my struggles. I don't know how to find those people. And I would love to do stuff like that.
About 2 weeks ago, I gave away 28 aquariums in the weekend. And they were free to any woman or anyone under the age of 21. Just come and pick one out. I just did a post saying I have all these aquariums. Does anyone want to come get one? Or more than one?
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, maybe I should just start. Hmm. Should
You could
start
also
looking around.
see if any of the local high schools have any sort of aquatics programs. Like I know at my kids' high school they do fish. There's fish biology, and even in middle school there's like crayfish programs. Sometimes the field bio classes, like AP Field Bio, will have some sort of program where they talk about fish or local waterways. At least there may be some way there to network with those sorts of teachers that you could find out who's expressed interest in that sort of thing, and be able to find a way to help the community that way.
Yeah, so my issue so far, the hardest setback I've had is getting people to follow up. Like I've had people like actually reach out to me, and I'm like, I'll give you all the tanks, anything you want, and then I never hear from them again. And they're like, I mean, they're teachers, so it's still like I don't want to bug them, but I'm like, hey, are we still doing this, or you just kind of disappeared? And I know they're super busy, so. Um, but yeah, I think eventually I'll find a way. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Maybe even through like community pages. Like I know around here, every neighborhood, it seems, has its own community page. Um, I don't
We
know if
have
some
those too, but I don't want to be like the creeper
people
old dude.
show up
Like,
with your
hey
your
kids, want an aquarium?
yeah. I could see that being an obstacle.
Kaylor's Aquatic with the super chat, informative and enlightening. Rachel and Bob, two people I support due to their contributions to the hobby. Thank you, Bob Kaylor. And there's one more here from Tiffany White. Such a great duo. Thanks for taking the time to share with us. And I'm going to skip all the way to the bottom. Oh, Big Brother. That might be something.
I saw someone ask me if I started my longfin strain of white clouds with long-finned white clouds, and no, they didn't exist. Um, I just kept. So when you're trying to establish a strain, you'll pick fish that have characteristics that you really like. So in this case, they were fish that had just very slightly longer finnage than the others, and particular color traits that I wanted to enhance. So then you breed that fish back to its babies that have similar characteristics as well, so that you're reinforcing those traits, and then you take the babies of those and breed it back to them again, and that's how you sort of establish a new strain.
So Science Gal Aquatics asked if I've ever, well, I'm assume asking me, have I ever worked with your state's conservation department? Might be asking you.
I have.
I've
That's how, yeah, we that's sort of how we put in the riparian buffer, where we planted, I think it was 10,000 trees in a weekend through the school district. It was in cooperation with the state conservation department.
Yeah, I've reached out, but I've never gotten a response from. There's so many places. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm just not wording my emails right or whatever, but I very seldom like even there's a like an exotic animal rescue out here, and I was like, hey, I've got all kinds of stuff to donate. Thinking about doing another fundraiser because I did one, and they like no response, multiple messages. It happens all the time. I just never get any responses. So I don't. Maybe I got to be doing something wrong.
Well, I will say that a lot of those organizations are really understaffed and underfunded. So if you're particularly interested in working with any of the conservation groups, they generally on the state website have the public meetings listed, and you can go and you sign up that way to get on an email chain, and you get more information that way, because they don't have someone that's just like, it's either they can do the work or they can answer the emails kind of thing, I think, a lot of times. So for me, the reason I ended up getting involved was because of my kids. They were doing service hours, and the school set it up, and you could just show up. So it made it very easy to be involved. But now we're connected on Facebook, and I have an email trail, and I'll be able to do more things in the future to help with visibility of their projects specifically.
Yeah, because I'm like I email them. I'm like, look, I can, and I don't think I sound douchey or anything, but I'm like, I can bring a bunch of awareness. I can help. I can do this and that and this. Like, I tell them everything I can do, and like I'm not looking for anything in return, and it's still just nothing. So maybe, like you said, they just don't have the manpower.
I mean, I think it's very much a matter of prioritizing, or coming up with a hierarchy of importance as to what to care for first. So
Bob Kaler says, Bob, as a shelter director at an all-volunteer shelter, I suggest going in person. Like Rachel was saying, I do our emails, but it's the face. But in my face meetings, get my attention first.
you can also look up too if you have like a county extension office, which is generally run through the 4-H's, but it's also through the State Department. And a lot of times you can get a lot of great resources there, as well as to conservation things for your localized community.
Yeah, I've definitely got a lot of good ideas. So, like I said, I'm going to go back and rewatch this. Just because I feel like I'm missing a lot in chat. Because honestly, I'm not paying it much attention. Love you both. I'm so glad I got to meet you, Rachel, at Aquashella. I also love this topic about helping the community and conservation. It's important and it's rarely talked about. I just enjoy it. Like, I feel like YouTube gives me the time to do it, but like if I won the lottery or something, even if I wasn't on YouTube, I'd like to think that I would still be involved and do it somehow. What else?
I know that I would. If I won the lottery, it would just reduce a lot of stress.
That's for sure. You win the lottery, you start learning about new family members you never knew about. Is there any outside okay? Are there any YouTube sites outside of the fish fam that might think we'd be interested in? Oh, okay. I butchered that. Are there any YouTube sites outside of the fish fam, so not fish fam people, obviously, that you might think we'd be interested in?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I butchered that sentence too many times. I kind of ruined that. That's all right.
No, were you asking about like fish resources on YouTube or things outside of YouTube?
It's Carrie Nature's asking, are there any YouTube sites outside of the fish
channels?
I don't know. Sure. I'm not sure. Anyways,
I watch stuff that like is not at all related to fish generally. So.
Yeah, like I'm the same way. Extension service is an excellent suggestion for developing contacts and service opportunities, says Father Fish. Oh, okay. Carrie says something outside of fish keeping that you find interesting. I would say like all your plants, right? You're building that plant wall thing, whatever you call it.
Yeah, it looks awesome too. I love it. I'm trying to pull up my subscriptions. I don't even know who I watch. Isn't that terrible? I watch weird stuff like on YouTube. I watch like sign language channels because I find it fascinating. I watch a lot of cooking shows.
You know what's weird is that I came across this sign language channel and she just sign languaged songs.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know why, but I sat there and I watched song after song of just this person sign languaging. And it's like they don't even play the song, but they play like the music without the lyrics. And then obviously, their sign language. And I was like, I don't even know why I'm watching this. Why is this fascinating? I have no idea.
Another channel I watch a lot of is called Curiosity Incorporated. And he's this guy in Canada that has an antique store. And he bought this hoarder house a year or so ago, and they fixed it all up and restored it. And he just like goes and collects all sorts of neat old stuff to sell in his store. And I think that's fun to watch.
Yeah, lately I've been watching, we're remodeling our house, so that's pretty much the majority of what I watch on YouTube, just to try to get ideas. And so, yeah, YouTube's great. ASL is a really neat language and community. I'm thinking about setting up a fish corner in my apartment. At what volume would you start thinking about the weight? Well, that's an excellent question. You probably want to talk to your apartment manager. I don't want to tell you to go get a bunch of fish tanks and then not have it be allowed. A lot of apartments don't allow more than or larger than 10-gallon tanks. I've found just from listening. So I would get with your apartment manager. As far as weight, I mean, there's too many variables. If your apartment is new, probably more. But if your apartment's 100 years old, probably not so much. Um, yeah, I have no idea.
Someone asked me if there was any prep for summer tubbing that can be done this time of year. Um, Not where I live. It's still. I mean, you could be gathering, pots and soils and supplies, but for me this time of year, I have to wait until about March, when the greenhouse has a more consistent warm schedule and the daylight is a bit longer for me to start even considering opening up plants or anything. And usually it's April when I really get things going out there. If you're in a more temperate climate, of course, your mileage will vary with that.
I think it's a good time to at least I see a lot of deals on like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist.
Looking
Uh,
for tubs, yeah, like
yeah,
looking for the actual tubs
yeah,
or
because I
pots,
see a lot of people giving them away.
pumps. I mean, I just cleared out an entire room of crap, so 'tis the season. Julie said her orchids are blooming. Mine are too. I have 7 in bloom right now. There's still one I'm waiting to have open up behind me. Oh, you guys can see them, sort of. But yeah, almost all of mine are blooming too. It's super, super satisfying. I've thought about starting a second channel just for my adventures with plants.
Why don't you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think anyone would watch them, but
Is there that? I mean, I'm sure that genre's on YouTube,
I don't watch it. I just thought it'd be fun.
and I'm sure it would translate well with your current subscribers. I mean, obviously not
Oh,
everyone.
God, my plant videos do so bad. It's so painful.
Well, yeah, but you still get a couple thousand views, I'm sure, if not more.
Oh yeah, yeah. Usually like maybe 4 or 5 thousand, but
I don't even get that many views on fish videos. Listen to you. No, all I'm saying is like if you're getting 4 to 5 thousand views and you started a new channel, like a lot of people would go there, right?
maybe maybe I'll start shooting some stuff and build up a database and try it out. We'll see. One of my goals for this new year was to worry less about putting out so much content and worry more about the content I'm putting out. So it seems counterintuitive to start a second channel, which would double the work. But we'll see.
Well, you never know. You might just find that niche and just take off. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. Tiffany asked that she's planning to summer tub for the first time this summer, and she wants to know if she can put guppies and white clouds in the same tub. You can. Here's the thing. I mean, I think that would probably go pretty well. But the thing that's a real pain in the butt is when it comes time to take down the tubs, sorting fry and sorting fish. It's a job, and it's definitely way easier to keep things in groupings that they look absolutely nothing alike. And of course, live bearers and white clouds look very different, but when you have tiny fry, they can be a real pain to sort. You might also run into some issues too, potentially with predation, but I sincerely doubt it, because when the fish are outside, they generally have so much, microorganisms in the water column to eat that they don't really predate on their eggs or fry very often. But again, sorting at the end of the season is really a pain in the butt.
yeah, I did summer tubbing for the first time last year, and I can't wait to do it again. I'm like, I'm only gonna do species only just for that reason because I don't want to sort fry at the end of the year. But I'm gonna do rainbows, of course, outside, and it's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do this year. I mean, obviously, I'm going to tub. I've been summer tubbing for over 10 years. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it's really just increased my love of all things aquatic, being able to incorporate it into my yard like that and having that auditory appeal and the plants and, getting the fish to breed. I absolutely love it. But I don't know what I want to do this year. I don't know if I want to switch the greenhouse over to all hydroponics to focus on growing food and then just maintain the tubs in the yard, as generally speaking, except for shrimp, the fish do best in my yard, not so much in the greenhouse.
That's what I
So,
want to do. I actually talked about the homeowner about getting a greenhouse, and I really want to get into aquaponics. I think it would be really fun.
Yeah, and I think it's Sitche US is really working hard on developing a new line of aquaponics stuff, and they're a good supporter of mine. So I'm interested in maybe meeting with them and seeing what they can teach me about that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool because then I can learn through you.
Stephen Thompson asked, "Can an old aquarium be used for the summer tub so you can still see the fish?" I mean, you can, but I'm telling you right now, it's going to get covered in algae and not be a very pleasant viewing experience without a lot of work on your part. I prefer to use the black plastic tub simply because also with the daily shift from daytime highs to overnight lows, it tends to hold things more consistent and allow for more layering in the temperature that the fish do better with.
I'm gonna try summer tubbing. Just worry about the heat a little bit. I don't know where you are, but you could probably just do more water changes. Bring the heat.
Do less direct sun.
Yeah,
You got
plants,
to
shade.
with just a little, direct sun when you're summer tubbing is 6 hours. That's considered full sun. So you put it in a place where maybe if you're really concerned about heat, it only gets morning sun as opposed to the peak afternoon sun. And that shade will keep things considerably cooler than you would think.
Yeah, so mine don't get any sun till like 1 o'clock. So I wish that I could do it so they got morning sun instead of the evening sun, but there's just no way around it. I did a small tub of guppies and it was a lot of fun until raccoons found it. All right, so we have hit an hour, and that was our limit.
Yes, I have my daughter has a dive meet tonight. That's why I'm wearing my Northeastern swim and dive shirt. I have some stuff to do before I have to leave for that. But I wanted to thank you for having me, Bob. It's been a while. We'll have to do this again sometime soon.
I know. I looked. It's been like 2 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I want to thank you because you're always very supportive. And I said this when you were in my last live stream, but for some reason, you've always been willing to help me out and answer my questions. So I just really wanted to thank you for that, and it does mean a lot to me.
Well, of course, Bob. My goal is to be accessible to anyone who's interested, but you are special.
Oh, in here I thought I was special.
I did. I just said you're special.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank the super chatters. I'm going to just keep this short and sweet, and thank you all. I hope you enjoyed the live stream, and we'll have to do it again.
Take care, guys.